Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Clint and today we will be flying with British Airways First Class from London Heathrow to New York. The day started with an early morning flight from Gothenburg, Sweden to London Heathrow. In business class, on board, traditional English breakfast was served. It was substantial and more than enough for an early morning flight. Once arriving and connecting at London Heathrow, I made my way to the South Lounges, where you find the first class lounge and a Concorde Room. The Concorde Room is the lounge for the first class passengers, while the first class lounge is for the higher status members in British Airways and One World Alliance. I at once started with breakfast. I had a whole 7.5 hours at London Heathrow, since the alternative was a later flight with very little time for connecting and not enough time to enjoy the Concorde Room. I had English breakfast, though I skipped some parts of the meal since I was not that hungry yet. You see inside the Concorde Room with a bar in the back. I then went and had a shower. First class passengers have priority. It's quite small. Doesn't feel first class at all, but it's still a shower. The famous horse. I also made my way to the first class lounge to see how that is, since I'd never been there. There was more crowded and self-service, though you could order scanning a QR code anywhere in the lounge. Back in the Concorde Room, there are some memorabilia from when Prince Charles and Diana flew with the Concorde. I had a drink in the bar. There's an extensive menu of cocktails and mocktails. Some more Concorde memorabilia in the lounge. Nice to see. Nice touch. A bit later, it was time for lunch. Though I didn't feel the menu to be that first class, with one of the highlights on the menu, this Concorde burger that is called famous. Few and big French fries. I skipped the starter since I didn't want to eat too much. I had expected more from the menu in a first class lounge. Though I had 2 desserts instead, since I'm more of a dessert person. Both were very nice. And on the side, I had some port wine and a cappuccino. Here you see the booths inside the a la carte restaurant in the Concorde Room. Not that fancy, but with the white tablecloths, it still looks nicer, though a bit outdated, and the service was very slow. In the Concorde Room, you can go out on the terrace and do some plane spotting, or you can just sit and have a drink and hang around. In the corner on the terrace, you see the nose of a Concorde that was used before. Nice touch. One of the disadvantages of flying in British Airways First Class compared to other companies is that you must go yourself to the plane. There is no ground service. Though that was not a problem, I had lots of time. This was a Boeing 777-200ER. As you see, there is no door. But the seat is quite okay, though I would say it lacks a bit storage. And in the seat, the amenity kit was waiting for you, and the headphones. I made my way back to see how the business class is. And then I appreciated my first class seat more, since here was more crowded and less space. There is dining on demand in first class, though I choose to eat the normal way quite soon after takeoff. You can pause to see the menu, and also many teas as it should be, being a British company. Started with a amuse-bouche, British goat cheese, caramelized pear and fig. And as a starter, I had a carrot soup and coriander soup. Both tasted nice, but nothing special. As a main course, I had a wild caught halibut, and you choose your side dish extra. I chose the potato au gratin, so you get that in a small bowl. And as a dessert, I had a crispy chocolate and hazelnut bar with mango and fresh berries. That was very nice. I skipped the cheeses. I asked the crew to make the bed. I had no intention to sleep. I just wanted to see how the bed was. Though I would say there are more and better comfortable beds both in business class and first class, since the padding is too thin. Later on in the flight, I asked for some tea and some Lind truffles. It was very nice. About 1.5 hours before landing, light meal was served. I had the lock fine smoked salmon, the wild mushroom lettuce pie as main, and for dessert, there was only one option, so I had the crema catalana with fresh berries. The light meal is though too poor of a choice for first class, both in terms of selection and for me, I felt too hungry, which feels a bit shame to fly first class and leave the plane a bit hungry. Though there are some snacks, but only crisps and the chocolates. So I would say if you have points, as I did flying this, then it's an okay product. But if you can afford to fly first class, paying in cash, then there are better options for you out there that give you better ground service, better service on board, better lounge experience, and also better food and seat and bed on the plane. Though for points, I wouldn't mind flying British Airways again. Though 7.5 hours was a bit too long, but as I said, I preferred this compared to about 1.5 hours. You want to see more of my first class reviews with, for example, Lufthansa, you find the link in the video